At that moment his eye fell upon a mango tree loaded with juicy fruit, and he plucked a fruit and sank his teeth into the rosy pulp. For a few seconds, while he ate his fill and the juices ran down over his chin, he forgot all about his canoe, forgot that he needed shelter, food, fire, and weapons. Then, his hunger satisfied, his mind ran ahead again to the happy day when he would set sail for Hikaru, with all his demons put to rout and the bright flame of courage burning in his heart. Never again would he be called Mafatu, the boy who was afraid. He stood there, taut with purpose, high above the demon sea. Maui, God of the fishermen, hear me, he pleaded. I shall return home one day. I swear it. My father, Tavananui, will be filled with pride at my homecoming. It is a vow that I take now, O Maui. I have spoken. The wind from the sea swept up around him, its voice warm and soft and reassuring in his ear. Maui, God of the fishermen, had heard and answered. Mafatu decided that before he retraced his steps to his own beach, he would explore the opposite side of the island. The trail dropped from the plateau in a series of swift turns and spirals. The boy clambered down, slipping and sliding, catching hold of roots and vines to keep from falling. Far below, a cool, dark stream wound its way through a sheltered valley. Perhaps in that valley he would find some people. At the base of the ancient crater, long ridges of lava descended to the valley. Of a sudden, Mafatu remembered an old tale out of his childhood. He had been told how the youths of Tahiti slid down the lava slide on sleds of giant leaves. The thought had scarcely struck him before he was wrenching off half a dozen great leaves from a nearby banana tree. Even as he did so, he stopped, suddenly alert. They were splendid trees, 3 times his own height, with broad leaves that waved in the wind like tattered banners. But what caught and held his attention were the stems where fruit had grown. They had been severed cleanly by a knife. His heart gave a thump. He examined the stems with care. Tree after tree had been stripped of fruit, and within a week, too. Who had cut these bananas? Well, he would have to find out. His lips were grim as he set about making his sled. He bound the leaves together with a fibrous rope of vines and soon had a toboggan as long as his body. When Mafatu reached the lava slide, he set his sled in place and flung himself down upon it. With a shout and a shove, he was off. Down the natural slide he sped at terrifying speed. Trees whizzed past. Wind drove the air from his nostrils. The valley rushed to meet him. He was brought up with a bump in a thicket of kasi. As he extricated himself from the thorns, he was still breathing with excitement. Aye, but that was fun. He did not stop to think how he would regain his plateau, for at that moment his eye fell upon a broad, well-defined path leading down through the jungle. Aye, he exclaimed, this fine trail was never made by the feet of wild pigs. The boy stood there irresolute and uncertain. Some premonition of danger kept him poised, alert, wary. He was half tempted to retrace his way and explore no further. Then an overpowering desire to know who had made that path urged him forward. The trail led toward the sea, widening as it went. Soon it opened into a cleared circle, some 100 feet in circumference. Involuntarily, Mafatu started forward, then drew back with a sharp cry. What he beheld filled him with awe, and it set him trembling. He saw a series of wide stone terraces rising in a pyramid many feet high. On top of this pyramid, a grotesque idol, hideously ugly, reared in the brilliant sunshine. It was an ancient idol, its contours softened with fungus and lichen, corroded by the rains of ages. The roots of convolvulus writhed about its base. No wind reached this hidden circle, and insects hummed in the hot air. Mafatu felt that he was stifling. His heart pounded. A mare, a sacred place. Scarcely daring to breathe, he advanced a step. Then he drew up short. Around the base of the idol, he saw piles of bones, charred but not old. The platform was strewn with them. Bones too large for dogs, too large for pigs. And then Mafatu understood. His heart congealed. This was a Motu taboo, a forbidden island. Here the eaters of men made their terrible sacrifices to the Varua Inu, the evil spirit.